First, nigga. Go with the legs. I just picked it.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back for another episode of The Whole Bushel here on the Real News Network. I'm your host, Eze Jackson. The Whole Bushel is an artist interview show where we sit down with performing artists to discuss world issues, politics, recent events, and things that matter to them the most, all while sitting down and eating crabs the way we do here in Baltimore, Maryland. Today I'm joined with Scott Paynter, aka Scotty P, frontman of Jai Works, and solo vocalist as well. I'm also joined by my man Vito Cash, producer, MC, and saxophone player. I think you'll enjoy him. And then also we have the wonderful Love the Poet, spoken word artist and founder of Brown and Healthy. How y'all doing?
Great,
All right.
real good. Happy to be here.
Crabs, man. This is what we do. This is very Baltimore.
Yes.
Crabs is banging.
Oh my God.
It's a real Baltimore thing. How do y'all think like Baltimore, living, working here influences your art personally?
For me, I think Baltimore is just so real, and outside of Philly is a blue collar area, and Baltimore, to me, very reminiscent of that blue collar vibe. And I think the fact that we all know so many working artists who are actually doing their craft for their living, I think, I don't know, that's the trademark of Baltimore to me.
Yeah. I always have this saying, I came here in '99, and one of the things I always noticed, especially as a poet, that people practice in their house and in the mirror for 5 years. 5 years. Before they come outside and play. I always call it come outside and play. Let's go play. Before they come outside and play, and being a host of a venue, I run the longest running monthly open mic in the city called Be Free Fridays. And being the host of that, I have seen people get on the microphone and say, I'm new, this is my first time performing at a venue, and smash it out the park. And then I ask them later, how long were you practicing? And they will always say, about 5 years.
Right.
Wow.
And I've been writing about 5 years. And so the joke is everybody practices. So that informs me and my work in a way where it's like, this city cultivates some of the best artists I've ever seen travel the world. I've not seen, especially poets, I've not seen, and people come from other cities and say the same thing. They have not seen that caliber of artists because we work really hard. We have to cultivate our own audience, and we have to convince them that it's worth it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to come from a working class environment. Like Janelle Monáe is one of my favorite examples of that. I remember watching her in an interview, and she talked about her uniform.
This is my uniform. This is my work uniform. It's funny because it started off as paying homage, and I still am, to the working class. My mother is a janitor, or she was, she retired, and my father drives trash trucks, and my stepfather, who's just like my father, still works at the post office. So it was really just paying homage to the working man and woman who has to go in and wear a uniform every single day.
I never heard anybody really connect that like that working class city culture is even translated in the arts, which is why we gotta make sure we get paid on time.
My perspective is a little bit different, especially being a person that was born and raised here. Like, I see it from that perspective, like with the working class, but honestly, how it affects my art is that I feel like Baltimore gets left out of the conversation a lot of the time. We get overlooked. People look at New York, they look at Philly, they look past us and go to Atlanta, DC, even DC. So from me as an artistry, I feel like from my artistry, I feel like I'm always speaking from the perspective of a person who hasn't been heard.
Trying to make it back, baby, so I can never settle out for a couple racks, baby. Most these niggas take deals cause they know they raps lazy. If I ever took a loss, I made it back, baby. Good health, but the flow sick. like a crack baby. And I never been afraid. Why would I start to fear niggas? Knowing I can step up in the booth and straight kill niggas. Half the rappers in my city pussy. I don't feel niggas wearing fake jewelry, but they claiming that they real niggas, huh? I guess they wanna fit in. Instead of putting in the work, these niggas rather pretend. That's why we never win.
Shine forever. So as long as it's here, then we might as well shine together. And the lies won't last for long, man. So I'ma speak truth to the day I'm gone, man. Crank my shit louder, 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 louder. Man, just crank my shit louder, louder, louder.
Really, the only way to do it, and the advice that I give, I teach artist development and things like that, and the advice I give is you have to build. When you're building your brand, you also have to build the audience around it. And you have to train them to understand what it is that you're doing. And that is because it's a working class. This is not an artist city.
At all.
So like, we also make this joke in New York and different places like that where you go and do poems, you can talk about butterflies and rainbows and people will clap for you. In Baltimore, you may get booed.
Don't nobody want to hear that shit.
Right. Like in a real way. In a real way, you cannot. It has to be substantive, and it has to mean something.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
and it's just not. And the same thing is in DC. DC, you can get away with a lot of things because it's very art friendly.
Different lifestyle.
And we're getting to the place now. I will say that, and which is great and progressive. Is we're getting to the place now where there are arts districts becoming and saying we're arts district.
But
and
we still got to fight with that. Look at what happened to Bell. Like, you know, they shut that down because of what happened in Oakland. I understand, you know, but that was a hub for artists in Baltimore. Like people,
Young
I know,
artists,
like
definitely.
Elon, like, you know, Butch Dawson, that whole situation. I would have never heard of those people if it wasn't for that, for Bell.
For viewers listening, Vito is referencing the closing of an art space called the Bell Foundry here in Baltimore, which was closed just a few days after the ghost ship burnt down. So yeah, you know, that's an issue here, especially for artists who are trying to survive and make money off of it. And you know, it addressed a whole other issue about housing. And we did a story on it here with the Real News Network. Jez Lenore covered it, and Darna Noor. But I want to touch back to what you were talking about the healthy lifestyle of a Seventh-day Adventist growing up, because you've started Brown and Healthy, which particularly focuses on people of color and encourages a healthy lifestyle among people of color. Would you consider this a healthy meal?
No. Not at all. But well, I mean, it's perspective, right? And it's everything in moderation. And that's one of the things that we talk about with Brown and Healthy. And I like to bring this to the forefront. You know, like that Michelob commercial, where in the morning they work out bright and early, then they go to work, and then in the evening they go to happy hour, right? That's the American way.
That's the lifestyle.
It is the American way, you know what I'm saying? And for anyone who is into health, fitness, and wellness to negate and to be so left of that, it's not acknowledging your audience, and it's not acknowledging human and what America is. Everyone has a vice.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's celebratory street.
Yeah, everybody has a vice and everybody lives in accordance. But for me, I'm like, hey, let's implement, at least go to the gym in the morning, at least go to the gym in the evening, at least do a push-up in your house. You know what I'm saying? Like let's be well-rounded as people.
So it's more focused on the physical health of staying active.
Well, I would say it's mental, physical, and emotional well-being.
Okay.
So we're talking just now about like what's this healthy food and fitness and things. But the reason Brown and Healthy exists is because when I was asked to speak at a graduate convocation, they slid in there for me to talk about Black Lives Matter. And I was like, oh, maybe because I'm black, I'm supposed to speak about Black Lives Matter. But when right,
Is that at Goucher?
right, no, it was actually at Micah.
Okay.
And it was a great talk, but the way I approached it was, it's not about if we matter, because that's subjective. That's someone's opinion. It's about if we exist. Let's acknowledge that. Because in this world, we're either The Wire or we're non-existent. Open a Baltimore magazine. We're not in it hardly.
Yeah.
So my thing is, what about us? What about the people who are the working class? What about the people who make too much to get government assistance and make, you know what I'm saying, and not enough to get health care, proper health care? You know what I'm saying?
Who's checking for them?
Who's checking for us? You know what I'm saying? And in that, we have to build ourselves, because when people do recognize us, they always ask us what we're doing for the underserved, not realizing that we are the underserved as well.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's the voice that I'm approaching, and that's the way that the mission is change the narrative, change the world. And once we start with us and start talking about, like, wearing a shirt that says I'm brown and healthy, number one, the word brown throws people off anyway. As Black Americans, no, we're brown people. We exist here. This is the melanin starts with us. So we're allowed to claim that. You know what I'm saying? We're allowed to have that. And it unifies people across the African diaspora. We're all brown, and we're all, you know, we all come from the same place. You know what I'm saying? So there's like several layers to the brown and healthy idea. But
what made
it's a lifestyle
what
companion
was it
platform.
initially like? What in your life personally happened to make you say, okay, Love the Poet, aka Michelle Nelson, has to start this initiative and get this going for people of color?
Michelle Antoinette Nelson.
Michelle Antoinette
Yes,
Nelson,
yes.
my bad.
Well, I started hashtagging brown and healthy about 3 years ago, just because I'm like, I'm brown and I'm trying to be healthy. And that was how I did it too, like, I'm running, I'm getting back on it. I ran Division I track and field in college. I went through high school running track. And I was trying to get back to that. Being in my mid-30s, it was like, you know, let's try to do that. But then, as I realized the social climate was changing, and I started to wake up every morning feeling like I was at war. Another Black baby was killed. Another Black person was accosted. Another police officer has done this, another that. And it was hitting us over the head in waves. You know what I'm saying? In the last 3 years, we've been like smashed by waves. And it's not just one. It'll be like 5. Then nothing, then another 5, then nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, how can, being an activist from like birth, how can I do something that it cannot be argued and cannot be minimized and not be shot down?
Mitigated, all that.
All of that.
Dissembled.
And, right. And so I was like, let's be proactive and approach it from a more positive aspect. If we're at war, our warriors would fail.
That's a very important
We
point.
would fail because we mentally, physically, and emotionally, number one, we have to acknowledge that we are victims and then start from there. You know, we don't want to admit that. We're too proud. We too whatever. But those types of things got me going. And I said, well, how can I get to my people and be very blatant about it?
In God's country, hypocritical is whimsical and being judgmental is a quirk, which stops the clergymen from being convicts and their flocks from being jerks, which holds the hand of a rapist even though our own laws state that children can't consent. But because I love a grown woman, I'm the outcasted sexual deviant. I've spent more than my share of life searching for a wife with little more than a wish of good luck. But I've learned in my sojourn, most priests are praying on her son, praying for her son, hoping the light she sheds between her legs will come and give him some. In God's country, a democracy run by churches, a bill passed to keep you worthless, a group home jailhouse under the guise of therapeutic purposes. In God I trust to guide me thus through the murk of this sewage of ancient Egyptian ruins sprinkled throughout our belief system like pixie dust. Amen? How about this? Amen. Amen Ra. God's country can't give praise to the sun, it burns God's son. God's country can't give praise to the sun, it burns God's son, born ill-equipped and melaninless per old masses depiction, who arose one day with the predilection to have every Christian praising him, contrary to chapter 1, verses 12 through 18 in Revelation, and my people say I'm picking. Oh, Michelle, stop bitching. Scratch that Milton conspiracy itch and go back to stroking senses with that fiction. Well, if erotica be my niche, then why am I such a Jedi with this pseudo-Christian doctrine? Ask the theologians, then dethrone them. Ask the theologians, then dethrone them. Questions do not get answered if you do not ask them, God's country. But, oh Lord, Oh, Lord, we've been led astray. Give me a gospel song. A woman in the front pew with no panties on, a pastor with a good view and a word for y'all. First day, give praise, get your hymnals, y'all. Praise him our way, that bush ain't gone. Just used against us is all. Control, drumbeat, catch the spirit, Lord. Don't think the bridegroom will take you home. Just keep your lanterns filled with hope that we're in Afghanistan fighting heathens and not protecting poppy fields used for dope. Light it. Get a hit. Spark thoughts through Google Glass, internet inhale, drug wars, we exist in hell, God's country, the land of the T and home of the NRA. See, we live for these types of parties, but these days, I'd rather just be free and brave. I will not die a slave. I will not die a slave. I will not die a slave to this new dance craze led by emotion, blind devotion, begging my logic to wane. It doesn't make sense. So go on and tithe before you pay your rent. Make sure he's a Christian before we elect him president. Don't be openly gay, live in fear like the rest of them. Bible thump your way into a heaven that may or may not exist. Be whimsical and quirky. Use your judgments to hurt me. Forget that you were Pharisees and Sadducees. Were this the Jesus story? Thumb your nose at parables and cleave to each time-stamped allegory as literally as it can be taken. Forget that this religion was a present from the forsaker to the forsaken. Just don't dare be a Muslim. Atheist, Rasta, Buddhist, queer-scented, yellow-tinted, unwed mother, bastard child, jobless father, porn star, stripper, artist, drug dealer, politician, lawyer, liar, sinner. Don't be you. And don't be me. Be afraid of these self-appointed deities. Fear the gods, for this is their country.
I wanted to ask you, Vito, because you are a music teacher. Mm-hmm. And then also, we had Cariz Marcel on here before, and you and I have worked with his company, Cariz Kids, and teaching music to children and getting them to understand the music business. But you're full-time, every day. You're in Baltimore City Public Schools, teaching children music. And I know you're very passionate about that. Where does that come from? Why do you feel there's, what is your motivation for doing that?
Honestly, I never saw myself becoming a teacher. Like, when I went to college, I majored in music because I didn't really know anything else. Like, that was what I was most interested in. So, teaching kind of came to me as out of necessity. I was like, I need a job. I need to be able to pay my bills, so that was pretty much what it was, and I wanted to still be able to work in music. So it would kind of like served all those purposes. So when I became a music teacher, I kind of hated it, honestly. I was like, yo, why am I doing this? I'm in here getting screamed at, getting cussed at, getting treated like, somebody who doesn't have the knowledge that I have, but, it was hard for me. So it took me about 3 years before I really started to understand the job and before I started to really understand why it was important for me. So how I became a music teacher really was just out of necessity. I love music. But then as I got into the job, I started to understand, like, whoa, only 2% of teachers in America are black males.
Whoa.
Like, whoa.
Wow,
These
only
kids are
2%?
2%.
Wow.
Of all, like 84, the last numbers I checked, 84% of teachers in America are white females. So we talking about in the hood, in every situation. So no matter where you go, white females dominate the teaching force. So we talking about in Baltimore, we had a situation at Harlem Park where, a teacher stood up in front of the class and called the kids some derogatory name.
I saw that.
She probably doesn't even relate to them. Most of these teachers are not from Baltimore. They migrate here. So then, you're coming to a place basically where they're just hiring people who need jobs.
Scotty, my man.
Yeah, man.
Yo, Ja Works, one of the dopest bands I know personally. I really enjoy rocking with y'all. Yeah. Tell me, coming up in Philly, how did you get into reggae music?
I had 4 older brothers, and 2 of them in particular, my brother Tim and my brother Bill, were just super into reggae. And my one brother Tim had seen Bob Marley in about, I think, 1979 at a concert in Philly. So I was 9 years old at the time, and from that day forward, it was like Bob Marley all the time in the house. And then it was Peter Tosh, and then it was Burning Spear and Jimmy Cliff. It's a third world. So from 9 years old, I was just indoctrinated with reggae music at home. And then when I was 15, I saw my first reggae show, which was Third World, and I got into a 21 and over club at 15. And And I'm like in the front row looking at Third World like, okay, this is it.
When I came upon Wild Bill Jones, he was walking, he was talking to the girl that I love. I asked him to leave her alone. He said to me, boy, I'm 22 years old. I'm too old for to be controlled. So I pulled out my revolver from my left side, and I shot out that poor boy's soul. Well, he rambled and he scrambled all over the ground. He let out a most dreadful moan. And he reached for the girl, the one that I love. Said, I'm dying, won't you please take me home? So pass over to me that long neck bottle, and we'll all go out on a spree. For tonight was the last of Wild Bill Jones. Tomorrow will be the last of me. So put on those handcuffs and walk me on down to the jail. For I have no regrets and I have no friends, no one for to post my bail. Sent me off to prison for 25 long years. This poor boy longs to be free. But Wild Bill Jones and the long neck bottle sure were the ruin of me. Sure were the ruin of me. Sure were the ruin.
What's the best role that you see artists playing right now in this country?
Well, I think in this country, like any other nation in this whole wide world throughout history, you know, whenever there's a wave of oppression or a wave of disillusionment, you know, or hostility towards one group from another, it's always the artists that have to kind of they have to communicate what is universal. And so, you know, I was sick to death on election night. Just stayed up the whole night until I heard that speech. But what I woke up with maybe a week later was this sense of renewed purpose. And you look back, just look back recently to the 60s and the early 70s, when you had the civil rights movement tearing this country apart and all the crazy riots and uprisings. And then look at like Nixon's term. Then look at the music that was coming out from that time.
That's
you know,
right.
Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. And we've gone through probably 2 or 3 decades, in my opinion, where
Without
there hasn't
that.
been anything of note being said by a lot of artists.
Right.
And they've been getting by just talking about some frivolousness. So I feel like artists and art communities have to just really take the mantle now, because there's a lot of people that are using double speak or not speaking at all. You know, so it's on us to kind of take that up.
Love?
I think, like, as an artist who I have multiple disciplines and I do multiple things, I think that it is important for us to understand our platform. You know, sometimes because it's so easy or it comes so, we do it all the time, we don't realize that being the only person on that stage is something. That's a thing. And having people come and show up to hear you, that's a thing. And having that mic and no one else having that mic, that's a thing
It's
too.
a powerful thing.
So taking our platform and not abusing it, taking our online platform, which is our world, our Facebook, our Twitter, whatever. Some people will never meet us in person. They will never, but our digital platform is how they piece together who we are to them. So taking our platform and our influence and understanding that, yeah, we can write a pretty song, we can write a poem, we can do all those wonderful things, but also do like a Colin Kaepernick, you know what I'm saying?
Stand for
Make statements, stand for something, because everyone is not gifted that platform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And as the founder of Brown and Healthy, taking my influence, this is a global health and wellness initiative for people of color because I have gone global as an artist. And so I'm taking those relationships and that fan base and I'm feeding them something that says, let's stand for something.
You're part of this.
You're a part of this. Let's build from here. Like you trust me as an artist, trust me here now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's our role, is to not just live in our talents. We have those, but to pay attention to where your talents have taken you and placed you for a reason right now.
And who those talents have drawn to you.
Right, but right now, today.
Yeah.
why are we here in this position
don't loaf
today?
On it. Don't loaf
yeah,
on it.
yeah.
Vito, you want to chime in?
I basically echo what these two people have said. You know, basically it's up to us as artists to take what happens around us and reflect it. You know, so some people kind of oh man, well, why are rappers rapping about this? Why are rappers da 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 da? But a rapper is only a product of his environment. A rapper is literally like what's the
like a mouthpiece,
like a
megaphone.
reporter,
Yeah,
a
reporter.
person. They just take in the environment that they're around and just reporting it, right? So you want rappers to rap about better stuff, then give them a better environment. Like it's gonna be real interesting, or you gonna look real crazy rapping about negative things if the world is completely positive. If everybody's walking around with enough food, they got somewhere to live, and you talking about shooting and killing people, people gonna look at you like, yo, what's wrong with dude? But the reason that those songs are able to exist and the drugs and the misogyny is able to exist is because this is the world that we live in. So all these people are doing is talking about their reality. Now, it's up to us as artists to remember that and to take on the act of being role models. I hear some rappers say, "Oh, I'm not a role model." Well, then especially as a black man, you have to understand that the words that come out of your mouth, somebody's taking them more than just as a rap or as an entertainment. That some child is looking at that as people study Gucci Mane like a religion. People listen, let alone all of the artists that he's influenced and brought to mainstream. But there's some people who listen to what he says and literally model their life after that. So I'm proud of the fact that Gucci Mane went to jail and now has denounced drugs, is now working out, has decided to get married. Like that's big for hip hop.
And that's what I was just about to say, because I saw you shivering. But no, that's a huge point, because what if you were a Gucci Mane fan from the beginning, you've seen him evolve. So as a person, evolution, is always important. We all want to grow, and so you're now following Gucci Mane's life path. You talking about somebody who did drugs and alcohol every single day, all day.
Never
secretive about it, never sober, and involved in every kind of underworld negative life that you can imagine coming from the hood. But now is wealthy, like you said, getting married, in shape, very healthy, you know what I mean? So that's important. This has been
something I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, Gucci, I'm proud of him, man. He's changed up, and I hope he keeps it like that.
Me too.
That's good.
This has been a great discussion.
Yes, it has.
I really appreciate y'all coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is great. Thank you. This is great.
You got me feeling important, like I'm somebody.
You are somebody.
Eze Jackson.
That's right. And you are too. Look, thanks for rocking with us again on The Whole Bushel, right here on the Real News Network. Join us next time. Follow all our episodes on therealnews.com, as well as YouTube and our Facebook page. If you look below this video, you'll see all of the artists' links to their music. Check them out, support them, and keep rocking with us. Thanks, y'all.